Hello everyone, today I'm going to be putting together my tag of the month kit from Padilla of Piles of Paragraphs. Laurie is one of the admins in our Facebook group, the Mixed Media Emporium, and she's got an Etsy shop called Piles of Paragraphs, and she sells, amongst other things, tag of the month kits for you to play with. I've been following along from the beginning. Laurie started doing these in February, and they're just great fun. They're really inexpensive. For me to buy my kit, it's less than £6 including shipping. Laurie is based in the US, and each month is a different theme. So this is the one for the month of May. Now you get just a brief description with the kit and an example. This is the tag that Laurie has put together, and she says here, please feel free to create the tag you want, add any of your own products and use only the parts of the kit that work for you. So you don't have to use everything, and you can substitute some of the bits and pieces for, you know, bits and pieces of your own if you want to, but this is what's included. That's just my tag base. So we've got this pretty piece of paper here with different types of ribbons and laces, this sheet here, a piece of cream cardstock that you can use for the base of your tag if you want to, another piece of paper here, music script on craft paper, love that, script text as well, the focal image that you may or may want to you may or not want to use, and then various ribbons and trims and things. So we've got some lace, some cheesecloth, looks like tea stained cheesecloth, cream rickrack, satin ribbon, and a little button. So that's what we've got to play with for this month. Now let me just show you, I've been following along, as I say, since February when Laurie first started putting these packs together. This was the one for the month of February, so very pink and, you know, very much Valentine's themed. This was the one for the month of March. I just absolutely love that, and this is Easter. Now you can see, and hence the piece of craft cardstock here, that I've been attaching my tags to a craft cardstock base, and I want to keep that theme going just because, you know, I've got a bit of a thing going on here and I really like how that looks. So I've cut myself a craft cardstock base exactly the same size as the others. So I'll pop that to one side for a minute because I don't need that yet. Now what I have decided to do, I want to glue this piece of paper here down to my tag base. Now first of all, what I think I'll do is I'll cut this. I'm going to use my tag here to cut the corners just so that I've got some continuity. So let's do that first. So that's the one corner, and then I'm just going to move it over and do the other side. So just so that those are both the same. So we'll do the same here like that. So that will fit on nicely. So there we go, get rid of those bits and pieces. And then where did I put my deli paper? I'm going to use some deli paper here and a glue stick, and I'm just going to stick this down to the base. I'll apply the glue to the base. Hang on, let me just grab my glue stick. I thought I was prepared, but clearly not. So I'm just going to focus on the middle bit first. Plenty of glue there, and then I'm just going to make sure that I've got plenty all around the outside of the tag as well, just like that, just so that sticks. Glue stick is fine for this, you don't need anything else. The paper that's included is quite thin, so we don't need anything else. And I'm going to flip that over actually and do it this way around, just because I think that might be easier. You've got a bit of wiggle room with glue stick, so just make sure that you've got it in the right place. I'm going to use a lollipop stick just to burnish that down, and then I'm just going to trim around the edges. So let me just put the lid back on my glue stick and then trim around the edges, and that's my background to start off with. Now, before I do anything else, I'm just going to ink around the edges. I'm just using Distress ink in frayed burlap, one of my favourite colours. So I'm just going to ink that first. This just frames the piece, and I don't know, it just draws the eye into the centre of the page. It just makes it easier for me to work with. Of course, you can do this in your own way, but this is just my preferred method. So there we go, we've now got that. And then, as I've done in some of the other tags that I've created, I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to start off with the focal image. Now I'm just going to trim around this. Here we go. So get rid of that white border, but then I am going to add it to some white cardstock, and the reason I'm just getting rid of the white border is just to neaten everything up, because the white cardstock I might use might not be the same as the colour in the border, so that just gives me a neutral palette to start off with. And then I'm just going to grab myself a scratch piece of white cardstock. Now this is just a piece of scratch watercolour paper that I've decided to use here, and that's what I'm going to use. The reason I've chosen white is just because I just think that cream just doesn't make this stand out very well, and we've got a bit of cream or off-white in the background here as well. Now this one's got various marks on it. I'm not worried about that because you won't see it by the time we've added the focal image anyway. I do want to round the corners, and a little tip for you, hang on, let me just stand up and press down, this is quite thick. When you are rounding corners like this, if I continue to just round the corners on the same side, I'd end up with a really wonky piece. Do your diagonal corners, then flip the cardstock over, and that way it's symmetrical. I don't know why that is, some kind of mad science, but there you go, it works. We're going to do exactly the same with this as well, so we'll do the diagonal sides first, then flip the piece of paper over and do the other side. There we go, and I just think that looks really nice. And again, I'm going to do exactly the same, and I'm going to ink around the edges. So that's how that looks. I really like that. So what I'm going to do is grab my deli paper and just glue this onto that watercolour base. So again, we'll just apply plenty to the centre. Whoops daisy, try not to crease it, Nina. And then just apply plenty round the outside. There we go, that will do. And then try and centralise that as best as I can. And then what I want to do, oh hang on, let me just grab my lollipop stick. Where's it gone? Just to burnish that down, make sure that's not going anywhere and I've got no air bubble. So that is my focal image. Now I think I'd quite like to pop that on a dark base as well, and because this paper here is quite thin, I'm just going to use the paper that I've got here. Let me just cut this first. So how do I want that to go? Like that. So let's just trim some of this. About there, I think. And I'm just going to glue this onto this piece of paper here. Now this might seem a bit of a waste. Oh, hang on a second. Which side I didn't realise that was double-sided. Which side do I like best? I've got a feeling this might be a background from one of Laurie's papers. I think I like that side best, so I'm going to apply my glue to this side here. Laurie alters her photographs and they're just absolutely beautiful. She's got those in her Etsy shop as well. If I remember at the end, I'll show you one. So we'll do that. My glue has gone a bit gloopy, but you know, that's okay, that's fine. So we'll stick that down, pop the lid back on that. Just going to trim that out, so at least that's given this piece of paper a bit more stability. I don't like the colour of this cardstock. I ordered it from Amazon. It said cream, but this is sort of like a yucky peach colour, so I'm trying to use it up. So now let's have a look. I need to just trim this slightly because that's too big, so I'm just going to take that off to my paper trimmer and just trim around the edges. So there we go, we've got that trimmed, and again I'm just going to round the corners, flip it over, do the other side, and then I shall just ink around the edge of this too. And that's the focal image done, and I'm really happy with that. If you've got any jaggedy bits here, the blade on my rotary cutter is getting a bit blunt. Just take a nail file and just smooth around the edges, and that will just get rid of any loose jaggedy bits. And then we can just use our ink just to ink up the edges again. So that's all inked around the edges, and I'm going to glue this down. Now I'm going to have the darker part at the top, just because I've got more of the brown at the bottom, so that just balances out really nicely for me. So again, I shall just do that with glue stick. So I've now got my tag base and my focal image, and I can see that what I want to do is just darken the edges of this. I'm just going to use some of the Memento ink here in Espresso Truffle. I apologise if you can hear Alex in the background. He's got dreadful hay fever and is blowing his nose like a foghorn. But you know, hey ho, that's home working for you during COVID-19. He's not got the virus, it is just hay fever, I promise you. So there we go, that's darkened that up a bit. So I'm happy with that so far. So right, let's work on piecing the rest of the background together. Now I want to start off next by adding the trim to the bottom of the tag, and I want it dangling off the end. Where do I want that to go? I think I'm going to line it up with the bottom of that coffee coloured design there, like that. So let's use some Fabri-Tac to do that. Again, bring back my deli paper. Let me just check that I've got that the right way round. Yep, that's definitely the back. Oh, hang on a second. We've got a blobby. So I'm just going to apply glue just to the bottom here, like this. That's fine. Stick the lid back on, and then we can have that along the bottom, like that. Let me just bring it closer to me so that I can actually see what I'm doing. Let me just make sure that I've got enough either side so that when I trim it, I haven't got any gaps. I think that's fine, like that. That will do. And I quite like the idea as well of having this over there like that. I think I'm going to wait for that to dry and trim that first before I add the rickrack. So that's pretty much dry now, and so I'm just going to carefully trim the side. There we go, like that. And we'll do this side here as well. So there we go, that's fine. Yeah, oh, that's so pretty. I love how that looks. And then I want to have some of this rickrack. Which way round does this go? Which side do I like best? I don't think it really matters. I'm just going to glue some of that along there, just like that. So again, I'm just trying to decide, is there a difference? Is one more textured than the other? I don't really think so. So we'll just add some glue along the bottom here, like this. Just going in the zigzag. There we go, that should do it, and we'll pop that down as well. And that's just another layer of texture. I love how that looks. Let me just try and get it straight. And again, I'll just weight that down for a minute or two and then trim off the edges. So now I've got these papers here left to try and assemble, and I'm just trying to work out what I can do with this. I'm thinking, do I have a trim across the top there? I'm just playing around with these now just to see how I can position everything. Where's the other one gone? I just love how that looks. I'm not sure about this one here though. I'm going to leave that for the time being, and I think what I'm going to do is just ink around the edges of these two here and just see how those look then you don't have to use everything if you don't want to. That to me would make a gorgeous background for another tag base, and that might be what I end up doing with it. So there we go, I'm happy with those, and I'm going to position those there like that. How do I want that one to go? I'm going to centralise that one there in between those two pieces of brown, and so I'm just going to glue those down. I'll do this one first, just using a glue stick if I can find what I've done with it. So again, we'll concentrate on the middle first and then go around the edge. Like that. Oh, get rid of that blobby, and then it was there, wasn't it, that I wanted that to go. So we'll just line that up with the edge like that. Grab my lollipop stick. Here it is, buried. I've got a mess on my desk again already. And then we'll do the same with this one here. Let me just fold that over. And we'll stick this one down as well. So just make sure that you've got plenty of glue around the edges. And so that one is going to go there, just hanging off the edge, just so that I can trim that up and make it straight. Get rid of that excess glue there. And again, just use my lollipop stick, and I'm just going to trim that once the glue is dry. Wiggle that over a tad. There we go. And you can see where that edge just isn't quite straight, and I know that that's going to bug me, so I'm just going to trim that up. Okie dokie, so I've trimmed the edges of everything, and I just want to just go around the outside here with some distress ink. I'm going to do the two colours again, so just bringing the frayed burlap just into the centre of the tag, pop the lid back on that, and then just using the espresso truffle just on the edge, just to darken that. So that's tied all of that in, and then I just want to add my focal image. Now I think what I want to do is add the cheesecloth there and the lace, and then just pop my focal image on top like that. So that way you can still see some of the text that's poking through. I just love the way that dangles down there. That's just really, really pretty. So I just need to decide. In fact, what I think I will do is add Fabri-Tac to the back of this, because then it will hold everything else down. So that's what I'm going to do. Come on, out you come. So we don't need to do anything to the lace. I'm quite happy with the position of that. I'm not going to play around with that anymore. And I'm just going to make sure that I add plenty to the centre here, so that it will bleed through and hold that lace and cheesecloth down. So let's have a look. Where do I want that to go? There, like that. And I'm just going to weight that down underneath a heavy book. And I just love how that looks. That's gorgeous, isn't it? Now I found this circle on the floor, which must have come out of the kit, because the colours tie in together, and it certainly isn't one of mine. But I don't want to use that. I want to cut myself a circle out of this paper here, and I'm just trying to decide what area I want to cut out. I've got my circle punch. I think I'm going to do the darker colour here like this. So we'll punch that out. I'm going to go around the edge in my Memento ink. So we'll just frame that here like this, and then I'm going to fold this in half. So I'm just putting the finishing touches to my tag now. So there we go. We'll fold that in half like that, and then I'm just going to attach that, and I'm just going to have it slightly proud. I don't know whether you can see there, like that. So I'm going to use Fabri-Tac to do that. Let me just pop the top on my ink. I don't want that drying up. So we'll attach some glue to there like that. The reason I'm using the 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac, I can't even remember what it is this time, is just because this is thicker cardstock. So we'll attach that there like that. And as I say, I just want that ever so slightly proud. So now which way round do I want it to go? Now is the time for me to add my tag to my topper like this. What I'm going to do though is go around the edge with both shades of the ink first. So I'll start off with the frayed burlap, and then I shall go around with the Memento in Espresso Truffle as well. So that's the tag, just with the frayed burlap, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing now with the Espresso Truffle, and you see that's just darkening it even more, and this will just frame it and just draws your eye then to the centre of the tag. So these are the bits and pieces that I've got left, and I'm going to use this one here. I'm just going to trim that so that it's nice and straight. And I'm just going to add a tiny bit of glue as well. I'm just going to do the same to this side here, just so that it's straight. And I'm going to apply some Fabri-Tac. This was a tip that one of my friends gave me, one of my subbies. So I'm just going to do this, and this will just stop it unravelling and fraying. So I'm going to do this at both ends, and then leave that to dry just for a second or two. Fabri-Tac or 3-in-1 just dries really, really quickly. Of course, last time I tucked everything under and made myself a seam, and somebody told me a quicker way to do this. And this fabric here is just too thick for me to do that anyway. So I'm just going to leave that for a second or two. And then I want to add my satin down the centre like that. So all I'm going to do, that's not quite dry. It's dry enough for me to work on, but it's not quite dry. Bring back my deli paper. I'm just going to apply a thin bead just all the way down the centre like this, and I'm just going to spread that out with my finger, which was a tip that Laurie gave me to stop it bleeding through whatever you're attaching. I'm going to stand up to do this because I want this to be symmetrical, and I'm just going to stick that down like that. There we go. Okay, so whilst my ribbon is drying, I'm going to work on my button. I've chosen some thread here just from a cheap IKEA set that's very similar in tones to the focal image here. So that's what I'm using, and I've just threaded it through my needle and doubled it over like this. And I get asked this all the time, how I make my knots. So I've got it on my finger here. I'm just placing my needle over the top. I'm going to hold that with my right hand, wrap it round, whoops daisy, 3 times. 1, 2, 3, in fact we'll go 4, and then I'm just going to pull that through like that. Can you see? And that just forms a really easy knot. So then what I'm going to do is add some mock stitching. So we'll just pull this through. I'm going to hold onto that knot because I know that it's not quite thick enough to stop it going through the back of the button. So hang on, let me just straighten this out. So we'll hold onto that there like so. And I'm just going to pretend as if I'm stitching it through, to a piece of fabric. Of course, I'm not. This is just to give the illusion, just because I think that's more pleasing to my eye. It looks neater. There we go. That will do. And then I'm just going to go under there just to secure it like that. That will do nicely, and then I can just trim that off. And then to secure that on the back, I'm just going to add a tiny weeny blob of glue. Like that, and then I can just fold that in like that. So let's put this tag together now. I'm just going to trim off the satin ribbon like that. Get rid of the excess. There we go. So, and then what I want to do is just loop that over, and I just want to make sure that it's the same on each side. So that's forming my tag top. So what I want to do is just add some Fabri-Tac again, just to the bottom here, like that, and the top. There we go. So not too much, just enough to just hold that down securely. That will do. Stick the lid back on, and then just find the central point about there, and then it's just a bit of jiggery pokery then, just to make sure that I'm happy with the placement of that. So I'm just going to hold it like that so that I can make sure that it's the same on the front and the back, about there, I think. And then I can just hold that down, and then when my tag goes on the top, I just think that looks really, really pretty. So we're almost done. I just love how my tag is looking. So I'm ready to glue my tag down to my background now. And again, I'm going to use 3-in-1 Fabri-Tac for this, just because glue stick would not hold this. I love this glue. Here we go, focusing on having plenty around the edges so that that doesn't come unstuck. Whoops daisy. Put the lid back on. I'm just going to take my finger and just make sure that I drag that all the way to the edges. There we go, and stick that down. I'm going to stand up to do this to make sure I get it in the right place. About there, I think that looks good to me. And I'm going to weight that down underneath a heavy book for a minute or two before I attach my button. So finally, I just want to attach my button. Let's just grab the glue. So I'll add a nice blob just in the centre there, like that. And I'm going to add that there, just in between the two, just to tie it all together. I like how that looks. And I'm just going to hold that down for a second or two until that glue grabs. I just want to add one more thing to this. I've got this Tim Holtz quote here, collect beautiful moments. I'm just going to ink around the edges just to get rid of the white edge like this. And I just think it's missing something at the top, and all of my other tags have got a quote on as well, so I want this one to have one too, and I think this is perfect. Collect beautiful moments, with that being a photograph, a vintage photograph. Have I done all the edges? Don't miss anything. And again, I'm just going to add a tiny weeny bit more glue, just because these stickers just will not hold on their own, so you don't need much. So we'll have that there like that. I think I'm not going to overthink this, and a tiny weeny bit more glue on that one there as well. Collect, oh hang on, come back. Beautiful moments. I think I want that one to come down just a tad there like that. And the good thing is that you can just rub any excess glue off. Now I keep thinking that I'm at the end and I've finished, but I just feel that a vintage lady needs some pearls. I've got these here. Those are really pretty. I love the colour. The peach matches that there, but I do feel that that is perhaps just a bit bulky, whereas this is just daintier here. And I just think that that maybe sort of ties in with the ivory, or very pale cream of the satin up there. So I think I'm going to add those. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of glue, because I know that although these are adhesive, they don't have a tendency to stick very well. Let's put a tiny bit of glue on there like that, and add it to the back. Go for it, Nina. Do not over overthink it, and I'm just going to pop that there, and I just think that just balances everything really well, and it's just the final finishing touch to my tag. So this is my finished tag using the May tag of the month kit. I just love the neutral tones of this one here. I just found that a really appealing kit to put together. It's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. Thoroughly enjoyed that. I've used most of the bits and pieces this month as well. I've just got these two pieces here and this background. This I think would have just been too much to add to my particular layout, but that's just crying out to be used as a base for a future tag. And for anybody who's interested in seeing how I use up any of the leftover bits and pieces, then let me know in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to put another video together showing what I do with the leftover bits and bobs. Now, I get asked all the time, what on earth do you do with these tags? Well, I'm adding mine to my usual scraps journal. I've already added the February one to one of my page layouts, and you know, I'll be using the others throughout this journal as well. So keep your eyes open for a video showing, you know, how I decide to incorporate these into my journal. I'll also leave the link as well to a playlist showing you how I made all the other tags that I've created. There are 4 now to date because Laurie started selling these in February. And I've been following along from the very beginning, so I'll leave the link to the playlist in the description box below. I'll also leave the link to Laurie's shop, Piles of Paragraphs, on Etsy, so Etsy Piles of Paragraphs. As I say, for us in the UK, these are less than £6 including postage, so I think, you know, that's very, very affordable. But I hope you enjoyed what I did with the kit this month. If you did, as always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, because it does let YouTube know that you like what I'm doing, and let me know what you think in the comments below. And take care everyone, stay safe, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.